Hey everyone, it's Melissa and I'm back with another video. This is going to be another episode of Healing with Melissa. I want to talk about overcoming depression. Back last year, the end of 2022, my pastor had asked me in church, well, she sprung on me because I had no prior knowledge she was going to do this, but she wanted me to represent mental health awareness and she wanted me to talk about my story, but not the story that I always told. She wanted me to focus on the overcoming part. How did I overcome depression? Because I'll share this in another video, but I went through postpartum depression when my daughter was born in 2018 for about a year and a half, overcame that. But then depression came back for round two. Wasn't done with me, I guess. And I went through that for almost a year. It was about 6 to 9 months, but I overcame that. So she wanted me to tell a story. And my heart was beating because she had called 2 other people, like one who had been healed from cancer and one that had went through domestic violence. So as they're talking, I'm trying to focus and listen to what they're saying, but I'm like, oh my gosh, Melissa, what are you going to say? What are you going to say? And when I got up there, this is what came out. I overcame depression in 2022 for a second time. But it was a beautiful thing because this time when I went through depression, I already knew the symptoms. I already knew what was going on with me, and I knew that I needed help immediately. I knew that I could take medication. The first time I went through postpartum depression, I had no idea that there was medication for that. This time I knew. So I was able to get on medication right away, and that greatly, greatly helped me. I also got back into therapy, and my therapist is so amazing. And I will forever be an advocate for therapy, for medication when dealing with mental illness. Absolutely. But those 2 things itself did not 100% heal me. Who gets the credit is God. God healed me. And the reason I'm saying this is because a lot of times in the Christian church, people will say you need to just have faith in God. You need to just believe in God alone and he can heal you. Can God heal you without medication and without therapy? He can heal you, yes. But sometimes you need a little extra push. And what I'm going to say is I had great faith when I was going through depression, even the second time. I believed God so heavy. I would not move without God's approval. I always went to God for approval. I knew that God could do anything. In the midst of what I was going through, I almost got evicted last year. And in the midst of all of that, I still trusted and believed in God. I still never gave up on him. But I was so broken. I was so burdened. I had come to be in such a dark place. And even though I still had faith, I needed a little bit of help to get me back to where I could stand on faith alone. I wasn't at that point in my life. I couldn't see it because I was looking at life through the lenses of my pain. All I could see, I had blinders on. I had a heavy blinder of depression on. I had a heavy blinder of anxiety on. I could not see clearly. I did have faith, and I would never let anyone take that away from me. It helped me to start looking at why I am the way I am, why I react to things in the way that I do. And I just did so much work on myself. And using that medication, I used the medication from December 2021 up until September 2022. I was weaning off the medication. It took a few weeks to wean off. But that medication helped stabilize me. It helped me get to the point where I no longer needed it anymore. And yes, there are some people that may need medication for the rest of their life, and that is okay. I don't want you to think that there's something wrong with you if you do need it. That is okay. But for me, my personal story, taking the medication and doing the therapy helped get Melissa to the point where I no longer needed it. Do I still have therapy? Yes, but I believe everyone needs a therapist, for real, for real. And I think the world would be a much better place if we all had one. I don't see my therapist maybe once a month now, if that, because I no longer rely on her to help me get through my days. I have come to a point now where I know what to do. I know the work that I need to do to become better. So when I went through that transition phase of weaning off my medication, weaning off the medication, it is not mine. I'm very intentional in how I speak now. It was a very hard process. Please, if you are thinking of weaning off medication, consult your doctor, your psychiatrist, whoever it is that helps you with your medication. Please consult them first to know how to do it, because it could be rough. I did consult a doctor, but it was still too much of a drop. I was on Effexor XR. I was on 2 pills a day, which was 150 milligrams. And they were like, yeah, you can go from 2 to 1. My moods were, and it was rough because I was at work while this was happening, like having mental breakdowns, crying. It was hard, but I did it, right? And I've been now almost 5 months. Yeah, 5 months without medication. And what I want to get to is the medication and the therapy helped me get to the point that I needed to get to, where I could stand on faith alone, because God wanted to show me. I had spoke so much about how, because I was broken, because I was in pain, because I was so hurt by how people had treated me while I was in depression. See, people that I thought would be there for me, praying with me, for me, checking on me, were not. And I was so broken and so hurt that I said, yes, I know God can heal people, but sometimes he doesn't choose to heal everyone for specific reasons. And I knew that he could heal me, but he wasn't at that moment. But God is amazing. And I laugh because I believe he has a sense of humor. And he needed me off the medication. He needed me off from therapy as much as I was going, because he wanted to get the credit. He wanted to show me so that I can show you that God was able to heal me completely from the inside out. He wanted me to be able to see it for myself. But it didn't just happen. When I was weaning off the medication and I wasn't going to therapy as much, I got hurt at work. And it was like, I have always had like back spasms and things of that nature, but my leg had I couldn't walk. It hurt so bad. I was crying. The pain was like 10 out of 10. And I was out of work for, I don't know, 6 weeks or so, something like that, 4 weeks. I don't remember how long it was. But I was out of work, not getting paid. But what I did was, in that moment, I trusted God and I gave my 100% self to him. I was off of social media for about 6 to 7 weeks. I fasted from, had no contact with people. I was like, please don't text me. Do not call me. If you really need me, send me an email. And if I'm able to respond, I will. But if it's not a priority, I will not be responding. I put Melissa at the forefront because Melissa was so broken. Melissa was so hurt. Melissa was so sunken down. I needed to climb out of this hole that I had fallen in. And there were so many people around me that were just using me. There were so many people around me that were keeping me down. There were so many people around me that really didn't have my best interest at heart, but I couldn't see because I had blinders on. So God allowed me to take this time where literally in the morning, I would just listen to worship music and I would just worship God. I would just pray to him for hours in the morning. I got on my face and I just got before God and said, God, I trust you. God, whatever it is that you want me to do, I'm going to do it. And I was just able to really grow closer in my relationship with God. I was able to become more intimate with God and get to know him on a deeper level. He allowed me to be able, when I opened up the Bible, to see it and understand it so much better than I have ever understood it before. And it was in that moment, in that period of time, where I just completely surrendered myself to God, where that healing took place. And I had to detach myself from everyone, because I don't know if you've seen this viral video on Instagram as a reel, but it talks about how when you're doing CPR on a person and then it comes time to put the defibrillator on and they say all clear, and everyone has to take their hands off for the shock to be administered to bring you back to life. No one can touch you. Why? Because if they have their hands on you, they will get hurt too. So I had to isolate myself from everyone. Even like my sister, I was like, I love you. You can call me, but conversation will be super short, and I can't, you know what I'm saying? Because I had to watch what people were pouring into my ears. Because a lot of people feel comfortable talking to me. But at that moment, I could not be a helper onto them. I could not be a listening ear onto them. I had to literally be so super selfish, because I had to save myself first. Because Melissa, for 2+ years with my former brand Lapeer, was saving everyone else, or attempting to, but I wasn't helping myself. I was hiding behind my brand in hopes to encourage others. I had a pure heart. I had a pure mind, but I was doing it all wrong. So again, in the moment in time where I completely surrendered to God and I gave it all to him, God showed me that he himself could heal me. He allowed me to use whatever I needed to use to get to that point. And that's where I'm talking about the therapy and the medication and whatever else I needed to help me get to the point where I got to. But then he showed me what it was like for God to completely heal me, because think about it. God made me whole, I want to say. We all know that God can heal through medication. He can heal through chemotherapy. He can heal through surgeries. He can do healing through a number and variety of things, right? Because he created it. But how many people know that you can go through cancer and be healed and survive it by getting a surgery or going through chemotherapy and things like that? But even if you do that, how many people know that you can fall into cancer again? It can come back. But when God heals you and makes you whole, it's not coming back. So I believe that God made me whole. He healed me and made me whole. And he healed me from that depression, from the anxiety, and he made me into a new person. I have a new identity in Christ. I walk different. I talk different. I am so different now, and I'm so proud of myself for all the work that I put in to get to this point. Because I no longer let people use me the way that they did. I no longer let people just ride on with me. No. If I did the work to get here, you finna do some work too, you know? So God had to show me that he could heal me for himself, for myself to know, so that when I speak to you guys about my amazing God, I can let you know that he's so amazing because he did it for me. And if he did it for me, God doesn't have favorites. He has respect of faith. So if he did it for me, then he can do it for you. You just have to believe. You just have to trust him. You just have to lean on and trust God. God is able. God has no limits. He can do the impossible. He can do whatever is too hard for us, because there's nothing too hard for him. So if I was able to overcome depression, anxiety, if I was able to come from being super broken, super sad, not happy with life, and from such a dark place to now, I am a new creature. In Romans, it talks about how we need to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. I've had that transformation for real this time. I have truly been healed and delivered this time. See, I've been in church for so many years. but I have never been delivered up until last year. And it's so amazing to be in a place when God places you somewhere. It really pays to listen to God. It really pays to trust God. It really pays to go where God tells you to go and to do what God tells you to do. Because when he places you in the right environment at the right time, you will see how different your life becomes. So I hope that I have encouraged you to understand that you can overcome. You may not be going through depression. You might be going through battling something else. But just fill in the blank. Whatever your it is, you can overcome it. Why? Because I overcame my it. Because God is a God of miracles. God is amazing. God is just so beautiful. He is a miracle worker. He is a promise keeper. He is the light in the midst of the darkness. And if he did it for me, he can surely do it for you. I just need you to trust him, and I just need you to believe that he can do it. And I need you to put in your part. You have to do work too. Because like I said, I took those weeks that I was out of work and I completely devoted it to God. I wasn't on social media. And if you know me, I have never, ever taken a break from social media. Well, except when I was pledging a sorority in college. I legit, that was because that was required of me. This time, when I got off social media, it was because God told me to and I wanted to. You see the difference? In the Bible, God, if you start reading in Genesis, you'll see how God changed Abram's name to Abraham. He changed Jacob's name to Israel. He changed many people's names. And I always, before I was studying the word, I was always wondering, why did God change people's names? And it showed me that they became a new person. They had a new identity in Christ. And although my name is Melissa, and it still is Melissa, I am now Melissa Pearson. I now know who I am in Christ. I now know my identity in Christ. So I hope you got something out of this, even if it's just one person. Let me know below that this has encouraged, motivated, and inspired you. And I'm excited to hear your story of how you overcame. Because overcoming is not just for Melissa, overcoming is for you as well. See you in the next video.